Hello and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. You're watching Update at Noon with me, Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, the government has decided to place several localities in Pahang, Terengganu and Perak under the Enhanced Movement Control Order, that's the EMCO. Well, Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said the decision was made following the spike in positive cases in the areas. Well, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said in Pahang, the EMCO will be imposed on 3 villages at Tras sub-district in Raub, where so far health authorities recorded 17 positive cases from screenings carried out at the villages. The affected villages are Kampung Baru Tras, Kampung Sungai Chitang and Kampung Sangli, which will be placed under EMCO from 13 to 26 May. He also said the enhanced MCO will also be imposed on Pelaga Tiga public low-cost housing in Besut, Terengganu. The locality had recorded 52 positive cases out of 86 swab tests carried out on its residents, and the EMCO on the locality will take effect from 14 to 27 May. In Perak, the enhanced MCO will be placed on MRSM Pengkalan Hulu, where 91 positive cases were reported. The directive will take effect from 13th to 26 May. Meanwhile, the authorities are also extending the lockdown placed on 5 residential areas around Sungai Klau in Rao Pahang, which was scheduled to end on 12 May. They will continue to be placed under EMCO until 26 May. Well, police have been urged to immediately issue a compound to any individual, including celebrities and politicians, who are found to be violating the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, of the Movement Control Order. That's the MCO. Well, Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said the move was to dispel misunderstanding among the people that the government seemed to give special treatment to the group.
Jadi kita berpandangan bahawa sesiapa saja, terutama yang melibatkan VIP seperti selebriti, politician dan sebagainya, kalau didapati ada pelanggaran SOP, pihak polis perlu keluarkan kompaun di lapangan straight. Tak perlu tunggu sehingga berminggu-minggu untuk mendapatkan daripada keputusan daripada Jabatan Peguam Negara dan sebagainya. Sebab di dalam akta memang mereka boleh mengeluarkan kompaun di lapangan.
Meanwhile, on closing the manufacturing sector due to the rising number of COVID-19 cases, he said the government was making improvements in terms of assessment to detect factories that are flouting the prescribed SOP, adding that so far a total of 70 factories were ordered shut for violating the SOP. The implementation of the third Movement Control Order, MCO 3.0, nationwide is not expected to have a significant impact on the country's economic growth, as almost all economic sectors are allowed to remain operational. And Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the closure of all economic sectors would be more detrimental for the vulnerable groups. Well, in a statement, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul explained that several segments of the services sector, which are based on physical interaction, including tourism, are expected to remain affected due to the interstate travel bans and restrictions on social activities. However, he said the government is confident that the country's gross domestic product, or GDP, will continue to grow at the projected rate of 6% to about 7.5%. And he said the country's economic recovery will be supported by the economic growth of major trading partners such as Singapore, which recorded a growth of 0.2%, China with 18.3%, and the United States at 0.4% in the first quarter of this year. He added that the implementation of the national COVID-19 immunization program will also drive the reopening of various economic sectors and consumer sentiment recovery, and subsequently boosting the Malaysian economy's growth and resilience. Well, no walk-ins are allowed at any of the vaccination centers, also known as PPV, in the country. The COVID-19 Immunization Task Force, or CITF, said members of the public should not wait at the PPVs, including at the centers administering the AstraZeneca vaccines, with the intention of getting the unused vaccines due to the absence of registered vaccine recipients scheduled for the day. Well, Well, in a release statement, CITF explained that it had developed a new mechanism to avoid wastage of vaccines without disrupting logistical planning at the PPVs, as well as to avoid congestion. The task force also said that generally all PPVs would contact vaccine recipients from their list through text message or phone calls. It said the individuals will be asked if they are interested in getting the vaccine and whether they can go to the PPV on the same day. Meanwhile, those who have booked the slot to get the AstraZeneca jab would be notified via My Sejahtera application, short message services or SMS or phone call. As such, the CITF urged the public not to go or rather come to the PPVs without prior arrangements or appointments, and there is no need to hover or wait at the centres. Well, previously, a photo showing a crowd of people in front of the PPV at Sungai Chugil Hall, Kuala Krai in Kelantan, allegedly wanting and waiting to get vaccinated by walk-in went viral on social media. Well, the National Unity Ministry has set a new standard operating procedure or SOP for non-Muslim houses of worship following the Enforcement of Movement Control Order MCO 3.0 beginning today until 7 June. Now, the ministry said the SOP is an amendment to the existing SOP of opening of non-Muslim houses of worship that is approved through the ministry's technical committee meeting with Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, yesterday. Well, in a release statement, the ministry said the amendment involves the number of worshippers that must not exceed 50 people for houses of worship that can accommodate more than 1,000 worshippers, while 20 people for those with a capacity of fewer than 1,000 worshippers. And according to the new SOP, the praying time for non-Muslim houses of worship is from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. House of worship management bodies are also reminded to carry out sanitization works for 30 minutes before and after praying activities are conducted. Well, according to the statement, unity officers appointed as monitoring officers under Section 3 of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases 1988 Act 342 will carry out SOP monitoring. The government needs to continue monitoring the lives and situations of the people following this surge in COVID-19 infections, which affects the socio-economy of the community. And according to the survey of the study titled Families on the Edge, which examines the impact of the pandemic and the movement control order on the low-income urban families, 1 in 4 respondents was reported being depressed. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economic Affairs, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said the research project involved surveying 500 low-income households living in the Klang Valley. He said the study also showed that the parents were worried about their ability to support their families with precarious income.
Parents also reported considerable barriers to effective home learning, where only 35% had access to an appropriate device, while a majority relied on using smartphones to access online content provided by their schools. Nonetheless, 6 in 10 parents commended the government's EduTV program and said that the government's TV education program had been helpful to their children.
The minister said the study also highlighted the issue of the nutritional intake and access to education for children, which uncovered a disturbing fact on nutrition where 6 in 10 respondents were unable to purchase enough nutritional food for their families. 1 in 3 respondents, meanwhile, reported difficulties in providing enough money for their children to buy meals at schools. Therefore, he said there is a need to further strengthen the provision of the support system to alleviate the burden of the targeted groups. And with that, we end today's edition of Updates at Noon. In our top story, several localities in Pahang, Terengganu and Perak placed under EMCO. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos, and we wish you a pleasant day ahead. Bye for now.